to come on, right? To once.
Yes. Welcome, everybody, to the launching ceremony of the AfricaSeeds new strategy document. I'd like to start by thanking everyone for attending today. My name is Michela Paganini. I am Knowledge Management Specialist at AfricaSeeds, and it will be my pleasure to guide you through this ceremony today. But first, we have some housekeeping to go through. The ceremony will be held in French and English, and simultaneous interpretation is provided. Just click on the word icon from the option at the bottom of the screen and select the language of your choice. Feel free to share your comments and ask your question in the chat box. We'll do our best to answer them during this event or later to your email address. And finally, please put your microphone on mute to keep disruption to a minimum. To kick things off, we will start by listening to the welcome address delivered by the Executive Director of AfricaSeeds, Dr. Kwame Miezon. Dr. Miezon, a plant breeder by training, has more than 30 years experience in the development of the seed sector in Africa. Dr. Miezon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Michela. I'm happy to convey a very sincere welcome to the large family of the African seed sector and all our friends, home and outside, who are meeting once again to strike a blow to Africa's seed security. Particularly, I wish to welcome AfricaSeeds governing board members, for whom today's event constitutes a part of the 2-day statutory meeting for 2022. I also welcome to today's event, which is dedicated to the launching of AfricaSeeds new strategy document, all our partners, seed sector specialists, representatives of organizations, farmers, and all. I'm very pleased to recognize many of you with whom I'm familiar, as we have met and worked together on many occasions. Meeting you again today is, however, quite special in the sense that it provides an opportunity to share with you information that will guide and consolidate our mutual efforts in addressing African seed sector development issues. As part of the 2-hour function, the chairman of the AfricaSeeds governing board will set the stage for a keynote address. Then, a panel of seed sector specialists will establish the context of the event by discussing some key topics of critical relevance to the African seed sector. This will be followed by a presentation of the AfricaSeeds strategy, following which participants will have the opportunity to make comments and share their views. We thank you for being a part of today's event and pray that you will enjoy it and find it beneficial in whatever aspect of the seed sector that is of concern to you. May God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miezon. Our second contributor, the chairman of the governing board of AfricaSeeds, Dr. Adama Traoré, will give the keynote speech. Dr. Traoré has served in several national and international agricultural research institutions in leading positions for the last 30 years. Dr. Traoré, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Michela. Distingués membres du conseil d'administration d'AfricaSeeds, Monsieur le directeur exécutif d'AfricaSeeds, estimés acteurs et parties prenantes du secteur sémencier africain, tous inclus en vos différentes qualités, représentants des États membres et autorités régionales et continentales, partenaires au développement, institutions sémencières, agriculteurs et acteurs de la société civile. Permettez-moi tout d'abord de vous souhaiter à toutes et à tous une chaleureuse bienvenue à cette session spéciale de notre conseil d'administration consacrée au lancement de la nouvelle stratégie d'AfricaSeeds. Chers collègues, chers invités, il est largement admis qu'un secteur sémencier fort et efficace contribue fortement à la réalisation du progrès agricole. Et comme nous aimons à le dire à AfricaSeeds, la moisson est dans la sémence. C'est pourquoi AfricaSeeds a très tôt été impliqué dans l'amélioration du développement du secteur des semences. D'abord, en tant que réseau, à partir de 1998, lorsqu'il a été formé par 40 pays d'Afrique subsaharienne sous le nom de Réseau africain des semences. Puis à partir de 2014, date à laquelle il a été réorganisé pour élargir son mandat et ses objectifs afin de servir d'agence de mise en œuvre du programme de semences de l'Union africaine, le programme africain de semences et de biotechnologie, ASBP. Lors de la réunion inaugurale du conseil d'administration à Abidjan en 2014, les membres du conseil d'administration d'AfricaRice se sont engagés à bâtir et à préserver la réputation d'AfricaSeeds en tant qu'institution de développement efficace du secteur des semences en Afrique. En 2015, AfricaSeeds a adopté une stratégie conforme à sa vision et à sa mission. Et bien que de nombreux aspects de cette stratégie soient toujours valables, il était devenu nécessaire, avec la succession rapide de nouveaux défis et questions émergentes, de réviser cette stratégie. En outre, en réponse aux appels des programmes sémenciers nationaux et en réponse aux résultats du Forum des Nations Unies sur les systèmes alimentaires, ainsi qu'aux conséquences émergentes du changement climatique, AfricaSeeds a constaté la nécessité d'aider directement les États membres et les autorités compétentes dans les domaines clés de la formation, de la diffusion des connaissances de la formulation et de la mise en œuvre des politiques sémencières, y compris l'exploitation du secteur sémencier informel. AfricaSeeds devait répondre activement aux appels des programmes nationaux et régionaux en collaboration avec les partenaires de parrainage. Nous saisissions cette occasion pour féliciter les gouvernements de la Côte d'Ivoire, du Burkina Faso, du Ghana, du Mali, du Nigeria et du Sénégal qui ont soutenu activement AfricaSeeds. Le conseil d'administration espère que le bilan du soutien de ces États membres incitera les autres États membres de l'Union africaine à jouer également leur rôle pour assurer une AfricaSeeds forte, capable de jouer le rôle important de développement du secteur des semences dont l'Afrique a tant besoin. Dans le même ordre d'idées, nous appelons maintenant tous les acteurs du développement du secteur sémencier à travers l'Afrique à prendre leur propre engagement et à plaider en faveur d'une action concertée pour réaliser le rêve d'une sécurité sémencière pour une sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle en Afrique. À l'occasion du lancement du document de stratégie révisé d'AfricaSeeds, le conseil d'administration se réjouit dès maintenant du succès de toutes les interventions que l'organisation mènera et remercie tous les partenaires qui ont contribué à préparer AfricaSeeds dans cette mission. Bon vent à la nouvelle stratégie d'AfricaSeeds. Merci pour votre disponibilité et votre participation. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Dr. Traore. It is now time for some of our partners to share messages of goodwill for AfricaSeeds. The first partner is Mrs. Augusta Clottey, who is the CEO of the National Seed Trade Association of Ghana. Mrs. Clottey, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman and precious participants, permit me to stand on all existing protocols to express my appreciation to extending an invitation to us, the National Seed Trade Association of Ghana, to be a part of this event. It takes great pleasure and my pleasure in submitting a message of felicitation on behalf of the Executive Council of the National Seed Trade Association towards the launch of the AfricaSeeds new strategy, which has become more important and necessary as a result of new trends, changing circumstances, and emerging issues in the agricultural sector on the continent. As agriculture rapidly evolves with its accompanying challenges, there is a critical need for us to up our game at the continental level towards addressing our food and nutrition security issues. As part of these emerging issues, quality seed and seed security continues to be our hope, providing the assurance to unlocking the potential of agriculture that contributes significantly to most countries' GDPs on the continent. There is therefore the need to build synergies along the entire value chain to sustain ourselves and build a robust foundation for the next generation. This, however, can only happen through a consensus among stakeholders and players. We at NASDAQ note with reference AfricaSeeds' decision to revise its original strategy to an updated version with critical attention focused on the seed sector and specifically recognizing the need to embrace the informal seed sector. That is the path to our success. It is undoubtedly a great opportunity for us and all other seed sector actors across the length and breadth of the continent to join forces, tightening our partnership with you, AfricaSeeds, towards the achievement of the seed sector goals, which you have well stipulated in your new strategy towards agricultural transformation in Africa. We are very certain that AfricaSeeds will be able to contribute to achieving all we desire for Africa with our support. Together, we shall rewrite the story of agriculture in Africa. And for us at NASDAQ, we say, seed is life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Clotty. It is time now for Dr. Philip Ojo, Director General of the National Agriculture Seed Council of Nigeria. Dr. Ojo, you have the floor. Mr. Ojo, are you with us? Mr. Ojo doesn't seem to be online at the moment, so we may have time later on to let him have his message. We can carry on with the third intervention, Dr. Michael Waitaka from the African Seed Access Index, TASAI. Dr. Waitaka, you have the floor.
Okay. Hello.
Mr. Ojo, please take the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Now at least I can see the mute button. Mr. Chairman and distinguished participants, on behalf of the Africa Seed Access Index, TASAI, I'm grateful to be able to join this launch of the Africa Seed Strategy. It's an honor for us to be part of this important occasion, and trying to get my light on. And we're very happy that another African organization is taking this initiative of updating their working environment by looking at the evolving structure of the seed sector in Africa. On our part, we are encouraged when we see many players taking these kinds of initiatives to be at the top of their game with what's going on in the in the continent, and in our quest to have competitive seed systems that serve smallholder farmers, we are happy working with the AfricaSeed in this initiative, and also on their own initiative, and also through the AfricaSeed and Biotechnology platform of the AfricaSeed of the African Union Commission. It's an honor for the AfricaSeed Access Index to be invited to be in this panel today, and to offer congratulations to the AfricaSeed on this momentous occasion, where they're renewing the way they look at the Africa scene with respect to seed. We wish you all success in this effort. We assure you that we'll work with you, and we'll be happy to join in whenever you are called upon, and look for another momentous occasion again when we'll be looking at the achievements made on the continent from our joint achievements. I thank you very much.
Dr. Waitaka, thank you very much for your address. I am getting back to Dr. Ojo to check whether he is able to connect now. Dr. Ojo?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning here. The chair of the governing board of AfricaSeeds, the ED of the AfricaSeeds, board members, ladies and gentlemen. I consider it a big honor and privilege to be called upon to make a statement on the occasion of 2022 governing board meeting, which should be used to launch the strategic document. I bring special greetings and felicitations from Nigeria and the National AfricaSeeds Council. We in Nigeria, particularly the NASC, which has represented over, we are very supportive of AfricaSeeds, and we are ready to take what it takes to assist the continental body to achieve its strategic objectives in meeting the needs of Africa. My interaction as with AfricaSeeds as a governing board member, and also by virtue of my position as Director General National AfricaSeeds Council, I am prepared to support the organization in all ways possible to ensure that it achieves its objectives. And the clear indication is the deputy of my staff, who is at the instance or at the service of AfricaSeeds whenever his services are needed. I always want to say also that we are very supportive of AfricaSeeds. Permit me, Mr. Chair, and other members, to thank Dr. Mezan, the ED of AfricaSeeds, for representing this continental organization during the 5th edition of Seed Connect Africa Conference and Expo that took place in Abuja between 28th and 29th of November. His representation and comments during the convergence were well appreciated. I also want to thank him for promoting, and AfricaSeeds generally for attending, particularly with the Director, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, to discuss how to promote development and brotherhood and collaboration between my agency, NASC, and the National Seed Program of Cote d'Ivoire, and by extension, other countries in Africa to benefit from the rich experience of Nigeria in the seed sector. I want to congratulate AfricaSeeds, and I want to congratulate Nigeria. Thank you for I want to congratulate Africa. Thank you all for this opportunity. Very grateful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojo. I'm asking Dr. Adine Blukunon Kubalan, who is the Agriculture Officer to the Sub-Regional Office of West Africa for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, to give his address. Dr. Blukunon, you have the floor. FAO representative, Dr. Adine, are you with us? I think we will have the chance later on maybe to have Mr. Adine deliver his message. It's now connected. Dr. Adine from FAO, are you with us?
Good morning, all. Sorry, I think I'm now allowed to open my mic because I'm not a panelist, but this intervention just come for me at the moment. So maybe on behalf, au nom du coordonnateur du bureau sous-régional de la FAO pour l'Afrique de l'Ouest, Dr. Robert Gay, je voudrais vraiment souhaiter la bienvenue à tous les honorables délégués, tout protocole observé, à tous les partenaires, à cette réunion de lancement donc, du document de stratégie donc, de AfricaSeeds. Moi, comme vous m'avez présenté, je suis Adine Bolukuno, je suis le chargé de l'agriculture. Donc, je m'occupe donc des questions de semences, de développement et secteur semencier à la FAO, au bureau sous-régional pour l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Donc, comme vous le savez, hein, les semences sont un élément clé pour réellement améliorer la production et la productivité des cultures de façon globale. Et il est reconnu que l'amélioration de la qualité, de la disponibilité, mais aussi de l'accessibilité financière, ça c'est très important, des semences a toujours une incidence directe sur l'ensemble des systèmes de développement agricole. Mais malheureusement, pour nous en Afrique de l'Ouest, cela reste un défi. Et pour réellement réaliser, adresser ce défi donc, du développement donc, de l'industrie semencière, nous, à la FAO, nous pensons qu'il est important que les États membres mettent vraiment un accent sur non seulement la législation, revoir les politiques semencières, mais aussi essayer de voir comment intégrer le système dit informel, qui est laissé de côté, mais qui couvre en partie, qui garde, j'allais dire, qui est la pierre angulaire de l'ensemble des systèmes de production agricole qui sous-tendent en fait le système alimentaire dans notre sous-région. Donc, c'est justement pour ça que nous étions heureux d'accueillir il y a 3 semaines d'environ Dr. Mizan dans les locaux du bureau sous-régional où vraiment nous avions échangé sur les possibilités de collaboration avec la FAO, non seulement au niveau global, mais plus particulièrement avec les bureaux pays, parce que nous avons des bureaux dans les 15 pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Donc, on a énuméré un certain nombre de domaines d'action déjà sur lesquels nous pouvons déjà initier quelques activités en début de 2023. Donc, je pense que ce document de stratégie que AfricaSeeds vient de développer est très important. C'est très important parce que ça donne une feuille de route claire, en fait, sur cet aspect d'intégration, comment réellement bénéficier des atouts donc, du système informel semencier en Afrique. Et réellement, comment promouvoir l'entrepreneuriat dans le secteur semencier, parce qu'aujourd'hui, on dit très souvent que les jeunes et les femmes sont au chômage, alors que le secteur semencier regorge d'énormes potentiels. En tout cas, je n'avais pas préparé cette intervention, mais c'est juste pour vous dire que nous, au niveau de la FAO, nous réaffirmons notre engagement à travailler avec AfricaSeeds, qui d'ailleurs, déjà dès le départ, nous sommes des collaborateurs et très importants. Donc, nous allons accompagner toutes les initiatives que vous voulez mener dans ce sous-secteur. Merci beaucoup à vous.
Docteur Adine, merci beaucoup pour votre intervention. We are now going to listen to the panel discussion, which will set the scene of our strategy. Let me introduce the moderator for this session, the Deputy Director of the Institute of Agricultural Research and Training of Ibadan, Nigeria, Dr. Johnson Adedayo Adetumbi. Dr. Adetumbi has contributed substantially to the development of the seed sector in Nigeria and in other countries of West Africa. He will moderate a panel of 5 distinguished international seed experts. Dr. Adetumbi, you have the floor.
Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever we are in the part of the world. It is my sincere happiness to be here with us today. It's going to be a very remarkable day because a new thing is happening in the continent. So the chairman of board, executive director, all panel members, and all other protocols duly observed. I am glad to inform us that we have been able to source for 5 scholars in the field of agriculture, in the field of seed science, to be able to address some emerging issues in seed sector in the continent. Permit me first to introduce these panel members. The first person is Dr. Samuel Kugbe. Dr. Samuel Kugbe is an agricultural economist, and he has served FAO and the International Center for Agricultural Research in Dry Areas for about 30 years as a technical expert. He's a manager, he was a team leader, and is working mainly on seed sector development programs in wide diversities of countries, particularly in Asia and Africa. Dr. Samuel, you are welcome to this discussion. Dr. Samuel,
Thank you very much, Dr. Adetumbi.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure for me to be here.
That's lovely. Now, the second member of the panel is Mr. Josiah Wobil. He's currently the chairman of the Seed Council of Ghana. Dr. Wobil is a seed technologist, a seed policy expert with more than 40 years of experience, and he has served in more than 20 countries worldwide. He has served in key international developmental institutions. Mr. Wobil, you are welcome to this discussion.
Thank you very much, Ade.
You're welcome. I also have with us in this discussion, Professor Shola Adeshola Ajayi. Professor Adeshola Ajayi is a higher education manager and an acknowledged research leader. He has a vast experience in research and industry experience on seed systems, agricultural innovations, and enterprise development. Professor Shola Ajayi is the current Vice Chancellor of the First Technical University in Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. Professor Shola Ajayi, you are welcome to this discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Adetunbi.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome. I also have with us in this panel, Mrs. Augusta Clothy. Mrs. Clothy is the present CEO of the National Seed Trade Association of Ghana. She has an extensive knowledge of agribusiness, which spans through the micro, meso, and macro levels, and particularly a leading voice in women entrepreneurship in seed industry development. Mrs. Augusta, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Ade.
And last but not the least is Dr. Folani Sunday Okilola. He's the Senior Technical Advisor to the Director General of the National Agricultural Seed Council in Nigeria. He's also the Acting Registrar of the Plant Variety Protection Office in Nigeria and convener of the last annual Seed Connect Africa Conference in Nigeria. Dr. Folani Okilola, you are welcome to this discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Adetunbi. It's a pleasure to be in this very wonderful panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Without wasting our time, I will want to go straight to this discussion. And I want to start this discussion with Dr. Kube. Now, we know that in Africa, we have diverse and rich genetic resources. And this has contributed to releases of numerous crop varieties in the continent. But in spite of all this, we still have the belief that majority of African farmers are still using low quality seeds. And this is resulting in low productivity. Dr. Kube, what do you think is responsible for this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone here. The question that you pose is actually directed at two important issues. The issue of adoption of improved varieties and the use of quality seed. These are related issues, but often confused. And I just want to, first of all, quickly clarify that. It is true that Africa has a wide diversity of genetic resources. We are rich in genetic resources, and our richer system has released a lot of improved varieties. These varieties may not be widely adopted as desired, thus leading to low productivity and food deficiency. Now, the use of quality seed is a completely different matter. When many talk about quality seed use, they are referring to improved varieties. This is a narrow use of the terminology because farm-safe seed can also be quality seed if it achieves high rates of germination, it has high technical purity, it is vigorous enough to produce a good crop in the field. So what ideally is the situation is that we want all farmers to use quality seed, regardless of which variety they have, whether this is improved or traditional varieties. So that is the first clarification I want to make. Now, when we know that there have been several empirical studies, econometric analysis of the adoption of improved varieties. What are the results that we get? The results that we get from these studies always relate to factors such as landholding size, access to productive resources, access to extension, and the like. And all these factors are related to large-scale farmers, well-off farmers. So even the empirical studies that we carry out is biased towards large-scale farmers, when the actual situation in Africa is that we have the large majority of about 80% are smallholder farmers. So this is a very important step, first of all, that the adoption studies that we carry out are giving signals that do not capture the true picture. And when we look at the global seed market data that is available for all of us to see, we see that the global commercial seed market is something like about $63 billion US, according to 2021 figures. Out of that amount, only 2 billion is attributed to Africa. And therefore, Africa is classified as a minor player in the commercial seed market. Why is this? It's because the 2 billion actually relates to big seed companies, to the big seed sector, the formal sector, where seed is produced in the commercial way. But as I say, the 80% of smallholders are again ignored in that particular figure. So we get only 2 billion out of 63 billion. Now, the goal of the African Union, Inclusive Growth and Sustainable Development 2063 agenda, is ending poverty. Ending poverty is clearly defined as engaging all Africans to work together in doing this, in which no African is left behind, regardless of the factor, be it sex, be it status, nobody should be left behind. And it is in this vein that the AfricaSeeds new strategy on inclusive seed sector development to support agricultural transformation is also moving so that no farmers are left behind. Big farmers, small farmers, everybody is included in this. And therefore, AfricaSeed in this way is looking at the big picture. What is that big picture? Getting all the farmers to work together to move agricultural transformation forward so that Africa can contribute more than 2 billion in terms of the commercial seed market. As we are doing that, we should also not forget that the food import into Africa is very high. The figures again are something like 35 billion US dollars per year for food import. And what is that food import? The food import is mainly rice, is wheat, is soybean, and other oilseed crops. These are all smallholder, low-margin crops, which, if they are produced by smallholder farmers, is going to save a huge amount of foreign exchange, open income opportunities for smallholders, and also job opportunities for the youth. So by focusing on smallholders, we are actually driving the process. But how do you bring smallholders on board in this way? It is a matter of talking, but what is the active way to do this? The only way to do this is by having a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things. And that is what this strategy is all about. We've got to identify new small-scale enterprises that smallholders can participate in. Equip these smallholder enterprises with the relevant technical skills, with the relevant managerial skills, so that they are able to produce seed and commercialize this seed and link them together with the existing formal seed sector. This is the new way to go. And it is in that vein that FAO and AfricaSeed have collaborated very recently to produce what we call the seed toolkit of several modules. One of that modules is dealing with this issue of small-scale enterprises. The other modules are how you equip these small-scale enterprises to be able to do this by equipping them with knowledge in quality assurance, seed processing, seed storage, and seed marketing. These modules are available in English, French, and Spanish. They are there to be adopted by countries in order to move this process forward. Now, I really want to conclude by saying that the smallholder sector is a very big opportunity for Africa. By driving and improving this sector, it is the way in which we can win the fight in hunger and poverty. We are able to tackle malnutrition in this way, and we are able to ensure food security for all. This is what the new strategy is set to achieve. And that is why I think it requires the support of everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kugbe. Quite revealing over there. 2 out of 63 billion. That's quite revealing. And the food import is still high. We need to do something. Let me quickly move to Mr. Josiah Wobel. We cannot continue to do things the same way, and we expect that we are going to have different results. What do you think we need to do differently? Or what improvement can we put into the system that will make Africa to be food secured? Mr. Wobi, please. Please, before you answer, we want us to be mindful of our time. Let's go straight to the point, and so that we'll be able to actually manage our time very appropriately. Thank you, Mr. Wobi.
Thank you very much, Ade. It's a pleasure for me to participate in this very important discussion, which I hope will set the stage for what we are about to do. You have mentioned the need to do things differently. Yes, this is accepted by all the stakeholders of Africa, even to the highest level of policy, by African Union, for example. Recently, the changes that have occurred in the governance of ASBP, as well as improvements in the harmonization among the regional economic communities, point to the fact that we have recognized the need to do things differently. AfricaSeeds is not left behind in this surge to do things differently. And we are coming in to contribute a very important tool. And that tool is collaboration. We do not want to have our partners reinvent the wheel. So wherever we collaborate, we add the advantages that AfricaSeeds has, so that together we address the total picture that is needed to be painted. AfricaSeeds will enhance the contribution of partners by working with them to collectively develop and make available use by farmers the various interventions that we have suggested. And the leading efforts that will be contributed by AfricaSeeds are found in 4 flagship programs, which are as follows. 1, the development of relevant capacities and skills for seed sector development, which we are calling the Young Seed Professionals Program. This is an intervention that will try to recover lost ground in the training of expertise among seed scientists, seed technologists all over Africa, by giving opportunities for young people who have just completed their initial professional training to have attachments to various projects in Africa, and to quickly complement the theories that they have learned with the practical realities in the field. We also have, as our second flagship program, the development and adoption of national seed policies. We have seen recently that adoption of policies in countries have heralded a very rapid development in national seed programs and seed policy, seed activities. And AfricaSeeds has a particular expertise in this area, which we have started to contribute to countries who are on that path. The third flagship program will be the Seed Knowledge Gateway Program. This is again very, very important, which we have already initiated with the assistance of the Swiss government. We have already adopted the program outline, and the next stage will be the implementation of the program itself. And the initiative is aimed at consolidating seed knowledge, seed statistics, seed data, seed information in one place. It will be a computerized database freely available to all seed sector planners and implementers, so that the hindrances that we see now arising out of lack of information in the seed sector development will be a thing of the past. And lastly, a most important flagship program will be mainstreaming the informal seed sector. Just adding to what Dr. Kube has just announced, this is a very key area, and we know that we all recognize the need to do something there. But until now, our partners, and in fact, all of us have not been able to articulate exactly what to do. AfricaSeeds is changing the game now. We have consulted with all the various experts around the world, and particularly in Africa, and we think we have good suggestions, which we will provoke all of you with, and see whether together we can actually move the concept of harnessing the informal sector more forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wubil. Quite some good things are about to start happening in Africa. I'm happy with all these new things that we are beginning to hear that AfricaSeeds is trying to put together. Most importantly, most interesting thing there with me, you talk about Young Seed Professionals Program. Well, I will be coming to that later. Let me go quickly to Professor Shola Jayi. It is generally accepted that seed sector is extremely very complex.
There seems to be an issue with the connection here. Let's wait a couple of seconds more to see if the connection can be reestablished.
That's okay.
Hello?
Hi. Dr. Adetunbi, can you hear?
Hello, is he back?
I think he's back.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, go ahead, Prof.
Hello, Prof. Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Let me say thank you to the organizers for this invitation and privilege to share some thoughts, and also to express delight at the opportunity that this platform has given us to see several other colleagues, old faces in the seed sector. Talking about the complexity of the seed sector, I think the seed sector is far more complex than people often tend to appreciate. And when we bring this to the African context, The complexity is made worse by the fact that we have such a diversity of cultures, diversity of systems, diversity of even experts and the kind of systems that are used in the country. When we look at the African seed sector as a whole, its size is very small compared to the global seed sector. But that being said, you also have a lot of fragmentation. In terms of the African seed market, the fragmentation is far more deeper than you have in other climes and other systems. And this arises from also the fact that we have a complex food system. And if we take the issue of even the food culture, you find that in country, the diversity of food culture, food crops that you have, the diversity of even crops that are cultivated across eco-geographical boundaries makes the seed production system far more complex. And you have it that in terms of the seed supply system that you have, there are areas where the commercial seed distribution system is well developed. And you have other areas where the system is not so well developed. You also have that in terms of the kind of scale of operation of the system. I give an example. When you look at in Nigeria, for example, you have that predominantly a substantial part of the seed production takes part in the northern part of the country because of the suitability and favorable climate conditions. But you then find that where the seed production takes place, the distribution system does not allow the seed to penetrate downwards because the seasons are not aligned. By the time the growing season is in the south where there's a high seed demand, the growing season in the north is not the same. In terms of even the diversity of partners that are required, when you look at the seed sector, you have, we've said something about that today. When you look at varietal development, the set of people that are involved in varietal development, the set of people that are involved in regulatory framework, and the set of people that are required in quality assurance, not to talk of distribution and marketing. They are all different. And sometimes our languages and our communication system are so different that if you bring all the stakeholders together in a room, you find that it may be a difficulty to even understand one another. So when we talk about the complexity of the seed sector, these are some of the variables that people often don't appreciate. And you have, for example, a lot of people that are coming to the seed sector across Africa. Majority come just from the business perspective to make a business out of it without due cognizance for the technical nature of the seed sector itself. So you find that when you put all these together, both in terms of crops, in terms of methodologies, in terms of systems, in terms of even ecological conditions across Africa, not to talk of farming systems, scales of operation, you find that the complexity even gets much, much wider than it's apparent to anyone looking outside that. Nevertheless, I think this complexity should not be a discouraging factor. It is important that recognizing it affords us an opportunity to be able to bring all the players together. And that's why this kind of platforms gives us the opportunity to be able to address some of these challenges and move the seed sector forward. And that's one area where AfricaSeeds as a continental body also plays a significant role together with all the national entities, seed trade associations. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Professor Shalajayi. I'm quite impressed with this. We're seeing the complexity arising from diversity of culture, crop, food choice, partners, and so many other things. And you have concluded by saying the players need to come together, talking about how can we synergize. Well, let me quickly look at this, Dr. Folani. I want you to address this issue of partners. Just what Professor Shalaja has just said now is talking about coming together of the players, the partners that we need to bring together. In your own view, how or in what form do you think partners should collaborate to be of advantage to the seed sector in the continent? Dr. Folani.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Adetumbi, and I'm happy to be, in this panel and taking the questions of partnership. For me, the seed system, like we said, is a complex system and is akin to, running a relay race. For you to win a relay race, you need, of course, 4 good drivers of each lap of the race. It doesn't mean that the relay race is won by only these 4 actors, but even the fans, all those cheering, these key drivers are part of the relay race. So each seed value chain portion is like a lap that adds additional attributes to the production of, the earlier portion of the race in a systematic and progressive way. And this is what ensures that at the end, the visions of the value chain or the seed system is met. So when you are talking of partnership in the seed system, no single partner can achieve all the needful in the seed sector development. So I think the key thing to do is to make sure that all key partners, whether government institutions, whether development partner, whether seed expertise, consultants, farmer group, civil society, continental and regional authorities that are involved both in the formal and the informal seed system, like we are talking about, collaborate together. And that is why I'm happy that AfricaSeeds is coming with a common strategy and policy and plan, that can help drive this, collaboration. So for me, I think it's important that actors realize this and they take the challenge, or they take the initiative that is being led by AfricaSeeds to, work together under a common umbrella so that this partnership can actually achieve, the desired goal in the complexity of the system that we are finding ourselves. So I must commend AfricaSeeds, for taking the initiative and for being there to drive this change. And what I would end with is to call on all partners to rally around AfricaSeeds, so that AfricaSeeds can provide that leadership to coordinate partnership to deliver success for the AfricaSeeds system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Folani. You have actually mentioned the issue of partners. I'm still coming back to you. Let's look at the role of women in all this matter, because we have talked about players coming together. We have talked about partners. Let's look at, and most of the time when we talk about all these partners, when we talk about the players, most of the time our focus goes to the men. So let me come to Mrs. Augusta. What do you think should be the role of women? And whenever we talk about women, we always come together to talk about youth, because they are actually the genesis of the young ones. Am I correct? So, madam, we want to look, what do you think is the situation of the women and youth in this sector of Africa? What do you think, what role do you think the women are doing now? What do you expect that they should do in the subsequent years that is coming? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adetumbi. Let me say that from where I sit, women and particularly also youth play a very significant role in the entire seed value chain, right from production till you get to the farmer at the last mile. and at all levels. The challenge is that somebody has already mentioned that the seed sector is very complex. So you find a lot of the men at the helm of affairs, but behind them, there are so many women contributing to their successes. And if you take one company, it is the name of the leader that is always mentioned. But for that one man's name being mentioned, there are about 100 women working at the background. The issue is that women, youth do not have the resources actually to invest or inject into the seed business so that they can come up to that level for them to be appreciated. So they are always working for companies at the background, and it's the men that are at the forefront. So I would say that women and youth in particular are really contributing significantly to the seed sector as we see it now, particularly in Africa. I would say that based on the recommendations I have to make, I think Mr. Wobble and Dr. Tumbe have really touched on them. So I wouldn't want to really reiterate those issues. But I think that going forward, more resources should be devoted to women and youth so that they can identify a particular part of the value chain where they want to focus on. In the past, for example, in Africa, one person wants to do everything in the value chain. We need to really structure it such that every aspect of the value chain, even taking the production of seed alone, the value chain is very long. Where are the areas that women, youth can really play a role, or where are they playing the role such that we can push them to be at the forefront? So if a woman wants to say, I just want to mobilize seed from 10 people to package and sell, we should be able to invest, identify those women, invest hugely in them so that they'll be able to package it in the right packaging materials or in the way that we want to see it on the market. Then we'll see more women coming up and really showing their worth so far as the seed value chain is concerned. Mr. Wobble has mentioned some youth programs going forward, and that is what we're also looking at going forward as an association, which can also go a long way to impact on all other African countries. That's right from the university level, can we identify the younger ones who are actually expressing some interest in the seed sector? Of course, they are within the Department of Agriculture. They may be drifting towards the seed industry. Attach them to companies that are working already, existing in the various countries, so that they align the theory they have learned in the classroom to the practical session. So that before somebody comes out from an organization, 6 weeks, 8 months, 6 weeks, 2 months, at least you identify where you want to be in the value chain, and then you can build, we can support you to actually come up in that area. I must say that for AfricaSeeds, I am really impressed with all that is happening to ensure that the youth and women are captured. But I should caution that we should not expect results like most donors will say, outcomes in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because we can decide that, for example, we are selecting 100 youth or 20 women, and at the end of it all, we just see one coming up, sprouting to be that kind of person we desire to see in the seed sector and leading the path. So we should be able to say that, well, we are starting with bigger hopes, but we shouldn't expect it to really come out up as we expect, because success is very gradual. We count 1 and we count 2. Rome was not built in a day, and I am hoping that once we are not too, we've not opened our eyes too widely to see 1,001 women or youth coming into the industry, we are certain of making impact in some years to come. Also, once we are focusing on the women and youth, our donors should, whether we like it or not, will still depend on donors for some time, trust me. And our donors should be able to see eye to eye with us, that some of the things they may expect to see youth and women achieving in the seed sector in the next 2, 3 years once they give donor support may not happen as that. So we should have some kind of space for us to develop the youth and the women in the seed sector gradually, so that maybe in the next 10, 15 years, we see a lot of the women really coming up and being appreciated for what they are doing. just like the main counterparts are doing. And then that will build the foundation for the youth that are coming up to actually also take up the responsibility of developing the seed sector. There are digital platforms that are being built. That is also part of the things that the youth in agriculture or the seed sector can really focus on. And all those people must be counted as part of people contributing to the seed sector. And we'll see the future being bright for the seed industry in Africa going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. I'm indeed very, very grateful for all your contributions. And I think we are moving. Our time is not our friend now. Let me quickly ask Dr. Folari one question. Dr. Folari, from all this discussion, we have been talking about partners, talking about players, talking about partners coming together, synergies and all those ones. The question that comes to my mind is, do we really have those experts there? In considering Africa as a continent, do you think those seed experts are there? And if they are there, are they talking? Are they synergizing? Are they discussing? What do you think about it? And if they are not, what do you think we should do so that we can harvest all these experts together and then be able to charge a course together?
Yeah, thank you very much. You have mentioned a very, very key issue, and this is an issue that, yes, we need to bring to the fore. When you talk about seed expertise, who is really a seed expert? In Africa, everybody is a seed expert. And like I said, you're in a relay race and everybody wants to do the running, you are not putting the best legs, to run the race, then you cannot win the race. It's high time for us in Africa to really, under the convergence of an agency like AfricaSeeds, identify who really the seed experts are. When you're talking of seed expertise in the complex system, you have diverse experts with diverse roles, but in Africa, you see everybody being a jack of everything, and those who are not even knowledgeable or who doesn't even understand the complexity of the seed system are the ones coming forward to, call themselves seed experts, and they are the ones driving the system. If we must achieve the success that, Africa will achieve in revolutionizing the seed sector, and of course our food system in general, then we must come to the fore and, identify a core of expertise that are real knowledgeable in the seed system who can drive, the success that we achieve. And for me, I think AfricaSeeds should take the lead and serve as a convergence point where expertise in the seed system can be put together and deployed as are when needed, in any African country to provide the support that we need. So I think this is a key issue. We need more experts. We need to build capacity of more experts, but nonetheless, the right expertise should drive the seed system. And I can say boldly that most people calling themselves, experts and driving the seed system now need to be trained to really drive the seed system. And AfricaSeeds, I think, should be supported to take this role and, serve as a convergence point where we could document actually real experts in the African system and deploy them when we need them to achieve success. Thank you.
Dr. Folari, I think we have actually, hello, I'm on, I think. We are gradually coming to the end of this discussion because our time is fast spent. But before we just wrap it up, I want Mr. Wubil to help us to address this issue. Recently, the issue of efforts are gaining ground in Africa now to undertake approaches that would see that the continent is adopting a common kind of seed sector protocols. Could you explain that development and probably enlighten us on the expected outcome of all these steps shortly so that we can have questions from our
Thank you very much, Dr. Ade. Yes, there is an initiative to explore the possibility of the continent adopting certain protocols which will enable it to operate seed aspects of development in commonality. But I must point out that this is not completely new. You know, as far back as the 90s, the African Union, in collaboration with the FAO and others, put in place the African Seed and Biotechnology Program, by which the continent's seed shortfalls were to be plugged. And you know, since that time, the ASBP has fueled the formation of regional initiatives by way of harmonization programs and many other initiatives. And recently, under AU initiative, we have adopted a platform for seed development partnership. And now we are looking at possibility of an initiative of mutual recognition, whereby countries will strive to have common regulatory approaches which will enable us to move seed across borders. So many things have been happening long before this time. And now the ASBPP, as the overall seed sector management platform for Africa, is a critical introduction which should give a big boost to continental initiatives of the type that you have mentioned. We in AfricaSeeds, we have positioned ourselves by our new strategy to catalyze this continental push. We have noted particularly that we are properly positioned to assist lagging countries to ascend to required levels in seed policy, legislation, and seed industry development, so that we're able to enter or help them enter
Can we do something about your microphone? We are not hearing you.
Yes, do you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, now it's better now.
Okay. So just to recap, I was saying that we in AfricaSeeds want to be able to contribute our special expertise to assist in the continental program of countries adopting in commonality policies and legislative protocols which will enable us to play meaningful roles in the continental groupings that are being formed, particularly the African Continental Free Trade Area program. So we are very happy about the reception that we have received from our key partners regarding how AfricaSeeds can contribute its particular niche to enable them to achieve even more. And we look forward to our partners taking a look at our new strategy and seeing how we have positioned ourselves to play the role that we have been playing on an even higher level. So thank you very much, Ade.
I think we have actually been able to exhaust some of the discussions of today. And I must sincerely say we have to entertain some questions. I want to implore some of our listeners, people that are participating with us, if you have comments or you have questions, you can just type it into the question or the chat box. We will be able to address it after some moment. But before we go, I want to appreciate all our panelists for their contribution into this program. Please, in a moment, I want you to put on your camera so that we can capture your pictures. Dr. Folani, I can see Professor Sholajayi. Please put on your camera. Let's just take a picture of you. I can see Dr. Philip Ojo also here. Just want to take your photograph. Mr. Michael Wataka, can you share your video if you're there? Dr. Ojo, yes. Thank you very much. I just want to pick your picture for a moment. Mr. Michael, I cannot see you. You're still not there. Mr. Michael, I'm waiting.
It's on. Oh yes, now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I will take it now from here. I think, let me be sure I've taken something before I will ask you to put it off. Thank you very much. We will, the panelists, please, when we have questions, when in a short while when we have run other programs, I'll be able to harvest those questions as they come around and you'll be able to address it at a later time. I want to sincerely appreciate AfricaSeeds for giving us this opportunity. I'll return back to Michela to continue with the rest of the program. We can still address the question at a later date. Thank you very much.
Dr. Adetumbi, dear panelists, thank you very much for this very interesting session. We are now going to watch an 8-minute video that will provide an overview of the contents of the new strategy document. Enjoy the view. Bear with us a few seconds. We are loading the video for you. We do apologize. We are having a small technical problem, but we are fixing it straight away. Just bear with us a few seconds more. Thank you.
Hello. It's the 8th of December 2022, and we are excited to launch the brand new strategy document of AfricaSeeds. This new strategy, the institutional roadmap from now to 2031, replaces AfricaSeeds' previous 2016 to 2025 strategy document. This revision has become necessary to respond to changed circumstances, including new biotic and abiotic stresses, climate change, natural hazards, and geopolitical disruptions for which new approaches are required. AfricaSeeds, the African Seed Sector Development Organization, is pleased to share with you some of the content of this important document, hoping to work together with you all towards the development of efficient, dynamic, and sustainable integrated seed systems and a profitable seed industry in Africa. Tomorrow's agriculture will need to produce more food with less environmental footprints and contribute to strong, local, and diversified agri-food systems for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life. As a continental organization, AfricaSeeds also aligns itself to the 2063 African Union Agenda on Inclusive and Sustainable Development. Seeds are the primary basis for human sustenance. They are the repository of the genetic potential of crop species and their varieties resulting from the continuous improvement and selection over time. Crop improvement and the delivery of high-quality seeds and planting materials to growers is necessary for ensuring improved crop production and meeting growing environmental challenges. Food security, therefore, is dependent on the seed security of farming communities. The past decade has seen good advances in seed sector development in Africa, made possible by a high level of partnership and collaboration between governments and development partners, and spearheaded by regional seed harmonization programs of the regional economic communities. During the last 10 years, AfricaSeeds played a crucial role as implementation coordinator of the African Seeds and Biotechnology Program, the continental framework for the development of the seed sector in Africa, created under the auspices of the African Union and the Food and Agriculture Organization. However, the record of seed sector contribution to Africa's agricultural development remains insufficient to meet the challenges ahead. In many African countries, farmers do not yet benefit from the advantages of using quality seed due to a combination of factors, such as deficient seed policies, limited variety development and deployment, slow progress in development of the private seed sector, inadequate support for small-scale seed entrepreneurs, weak infrastructure and capacity, fragile seed marketing, poor extension services, inadequate attention to informal seed systems, and limited efforts in emerging issues such as climate change, breeders' and farmers' rights, and biodiversity loss. Our vision is Africa's seed sector playing its role as a crucial contributor to agricultural transformation and food and nutrition security on the continent more effectively. Our goal is to promote, in partnership with other stakeholders, the development of efficient, dynamic, and sustainable integrated seed systems and a profitable seed industry in Africa in order to secure availability and access of quality seeds for African farmers. Our objective is to facilitate Africa's seed sector development efforts, including the development of a farmer-centered seed system through the provision of supportive policy guidelines, advocacy, knowledge, and capacity building. AfricaSeeds' field of action is to contribute to policy development and resource mobilization for seed programs to assist in the development of inclusive national, regional, and continental seed programs. Within this field, AfricaSeeds will concentrate on its 4 flagship programs: develop capacities and skills, including supporting a young seed professionals program, promoting youth and women entrepreneurship, and training stakeholders in collaboration with learning institutions. Develop and adopt national seed policies in collaboration with countries, regional centers, and development partners. Create a continent-wide knowledge platform with data, statistics, and information for seed sector planners, developers, and farmers. Harness the informal seed sector as a major seed source that will generate impact in overall food production at scale. AfricaSeeds will address the needs for seed sector development in cooperation with all seed stakeholders and developmental partners. To achieve this, a variety of tools will be used, such as integrated seed sector development, public-private partnerships, and networking to realize sustainable national, regional, and continental seed programs and industries in line with the African Union Seed Program and the goal of continental agricultural transformation and food security. In our interventions, we advocate for prioritization of seeds in agricultural development and food and nutrition security, ensure availability and access of quality seeds to farmers in both the formal and informal seed sectors, enhance and support private seed entrepreneurship, galvanize seed trade and market development, support resilience of national seed systems vulnerable to threats and crises, and promote seed-related data, information, and knowledge sharing. Fostering effective partnership and collaboration with all key stakeholders, including AU member states, regional economic communities, the AU Commission, farmers and farmers' organizations, as well as technical and developmental partners, will be essential to the implementation of AfricaSeeds strategy. Our hope is that this new strategy will enable all seed stakeholders to learn more about our mission and to join us in our efforts to achieve seed security for Africa. Hello, it's the 8th of December 2022, and we are excited to launch the brand new...
Thank you very much, and we do apologize for these technical problems. The floor is now open for question and answer. Our moderator will be Dr. Adetumbi again, and he has selected some of your inputs from the chat box and will ask the relevant person to respond to the issues raised. We apologize in advance for not being able to answer all the questions, and we will aim at getting back to you by email. Dr. Adetumbi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Well, I have quite some comments in this chat box, but we want to throw one of these questions from Elizabeth Njenga. She wants AfricaSeed to address the issue of GMO that is posing a threat to land races. And she wants to know what AfricaSeed will be doing in respect of protecting our land races in Africa. Mr. Wobil, can you give an insight into this?
Thank you very much, Ade. This is a very important question, a very interesting question, but I must start by saying that the threat to land races does not immediately come from the introduction of GMO. It is coming rather from our neglect of how we should conserve our important materials. And I'm very encouraged by those countries which are very strong national gene banks, and have collection expeditions and all kinds of activities which are providing important raw materials for plant breeders. On the issue of GMO, which really, I don't know how the question has come up, but it is not doing anything like that. GMO technology and science provide us an opportunity to cross the border into safety. In other words, in our history of humankind, various interventions have occurred which have made us survive. And I remember that the advent of hybrid vigor was one of those science and technologies which enabled the world to escape famine. GMO also has a similar possibility of upping the yield barrier. But I must say that there are dangers. There are dangers in every science and technology. And countries which rush into it because it's a new science, they stand to put themselves in danger. We have what we call the biosafety protocols. In Ghana, for example, we have a very strong biosafety law and regulations which enables scientists to operate their investigations into GMO in a very safe environment. And I visited Tanzania, which has also advanced similarly and doing very, very well. So I would say that the way to make sure you harvest the good aspects of GMO is to acquire knowledge and acquire also facilities and put a lot of resources at the beck and call of your scientists who will make sure that your country gets the best out of GMO and avoids any possible untoward events occurring from its adoption. Thank you very much.
Now, thank you very much, Mr. Wobe. Dr. Kugbe, are you there?
Yes,
Now, there's a question from Ethiopia. The question is talking about balancing seed supply. The issue of OPVC system of seed companies because of investment in the seed sector. Said, how can we address this problem? Because we are looking at the issue of hybrid GMO because of high return on this. So then how do we now see? Because OPV doesn't seem to be very attractive to seed industrialists. What can we do?
Well, that is exactly the issue that I raised when I talked about appropriate small-scale enterprises. There are certain crops. People normally talk about hybrid maize. That is unique to East Africa. You come to West Africa, maize is not, apart from, let's say, countries like Ghana, but in many other African countries, maize is just used as a snack. So a lot of our crops that are in West Africa are actually low margin crops. And therefore, if we do not develop appropriate small enterprises that can make business out of low margin crops, then we always tend to look at hybrid production. We'll tend to look at the crops that are going to be commercially attractive crops and forget about the crops that we actually rely on, that do not create that kind of margin. In as much as we look forward to further research that can make these more profitable crops, we have to look at enterprises that can produce seeds of those. But at the same time, there is, as we go along, the possibility of value addition coming from some of these crops that we may think are low margin crops, like cassava has been the case now, wherein several processed products are coming from cassava, and as a result, it's no longer actually a low margin crop, is being advanced to commercialization stage. So it is this idea of us being able to do things in a new way, new ideas, develop new enterprises being able to commercialize these and address our so-called low margin crops in Africa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kugbe. I have another question here from one Dr. Lawali Adeniji, I think it's from Nigeria. Professor Shalaja, I want you to answer this question. The question is saying, what do you think we should do to promote indigenous leaf and fruit vegetables in terms of their seed production?
Well, I think that first, we must recognize the limitedness in scope of a lot of these vegetables. And there are some of them that national programs ought to take responsibility for. When we have our own indigenous crops, particularly crops that are very, very central to food security, when we have them neglected by even national programs, by research programs, we should not expect outsiders to come and do it for us. I believe that if we take them up, and I think in the course of this presentation, there was a reference to national gene banks. If local scientists take responsibility for them, we will promote them. Because without the production of seeds of this, it will be difficult to promote their cultivation and ultimately their use. And I happen to have also done a bit about indigenous vegetables. I'm aware that there's a group at the University in Calavi in Benin Republic that is also very active with respect to seeds of indigenous vegetables. I know a lot is done in universities in Kenya. So by local stakeholders taking responsibilities for these indigenous vegetables and working on them, disseminating the result will allow a wider coverage of information about them to others. But that's my take on that.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, all others are comments, but before we wrap up this session, I want Mrs. Clotty to take this question. This question is coming from Maurice Gonga. The person wants to know what should be our policy towards commercialization of genetically engineered seed products. As somebody in the seed trade, what do you think we should do? What's your view about this?
Well, so, policies look at several areas so far as genetically engineered organisms are concerned. As far as it looks at the biosafety of the seed, it looks at all other aspects that are not harmful to the environment and also human beings. That all those things are discussed at the policy level before even it is approved for it to be introduced into a country or into a program. So for me, those are the things we should critically consider before they are brought into the system. The biosafety nature of the seed or whichever crop we are calling, or whichever organism we are calling it, and also the environmental impact it will have on us and for the generation that are ahead of us.
Thank you very much for all our, well, I just want to wrap it up. Another question just struggled in. How does AfricaSeeds wish to promote their programs among relevant national stakeholders in order to foster collaboration? That's a question coming from Olabisi Olajire. I think that's from Nagrab, Nigeria. Who is going to help us answer this question? Mr. Wobila, I will still come back to you. How does AfricaSeeds wish to promote their programs among relevant national stakeholders in order to foster collaboration? That will be the last question for today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ade. Many of our partners are already aware that AfricaSeeds has or is trying to have a national focal point in each of our member countries. So there should be at least about 40 focal points in Africa. And through them, we are very close to all national programs in Africa. And we have a mode of intervention which specifically spells out how AfricaSeeds comes in to assist member countries' national programs. We will communicate with the questioner, the person who has asked the question, and we will apprise him of the steps. But be aware that it's very easy. Most of the time, all you have to do is to address the issue that is of concern to you, to AfricaSeeds, to start the process. So we are always available. AfricaSeeds is actually supposed to be part and parcel of every national seed program in Africa. We are not a donor who is coming from outside. We are part of you. It is for you to make use of us. And many of the initiatives that we have recently initiated, for example, the dissemination of the seed toolkit, which we have developed with FAO, is available to you. All you have to do is to indicate your interest, and we will take steps to mount a series of training activities in your country to make sure that you have adequate expertise for all aspects of your seed sector. We are also available for those of you who would want to articulate your national seed policy adequately. If you call on us, again, we have a program that will take you through the steps. So we are always ready, and we'll be very happy to come and share our experiences with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me at this point appreciate all the members of the panels. We have done a good job to all the issues raised. All other comments will actually be handled at the Secretariat of AfricaSeeds, and they will be getting back to all our. There have been a lot of fraternal messages. I can see Muru Manga from Gambia and so many other people on the group chat. You are all appreciated. Mr. Wobil, thank you so much for participating in this discussion. Professor Shola Jayi, I'm indeed very grateful for accepting to be a member of the panel. Dr. Folani, you are well appreciated. Dr. Kube, thank you so much for being there. Mrs. Auguste Clotti, thank you so much for all your contributions to this program. I want to return this program back to Michela to continue from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adetumbi. We are getting towards the end of our ceremony. And it is now the moment to have a little celebration here in AfricaSeeds headquarters. And we will have a little ceremony, symbolic ceremony, where our chairman will hand out hard copies in English and French of the document. And for those who are online, we have to make sure that you visit our website to download the document in PDF. And yes, let's rejoice together and have this little celebration now.
Mesdames et messieurs, collègues membres du conseil d'administration, Tournons maintenant remettre quelques exemplaires de notre document de stratégie. Et je vais commencer par le directeur exécutif d'AfricaSeeds. Je pense que ce document sera très utile à la communauté africaine. Comme nous l'avons dit, AfricaSeeds est au service de tout le continent. La sémence est au départ de tout progrès dans le domaine du développement agricole. Nous espérons que cette nouvelle stratégie aidera le continent à atteindre ce que nous souhaitons tous, une souveraineté alimentaire à travers une souveraineté sémencière. Merci beaucoup. Avec ça, la séance est close.
We'd like to thank everyone for attending our online event and in person and for having contributed to his success. As we say at AfricaSeeds, alone we go fast, but together we go far. Thank you very much to all and have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Bye.